Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue my series on making games that use a text input box like this one, rather than the default method that Twine uses, which is having a list of links and the player clicking on the link that relates to their choice. And specifically, I would like to talk about the help command. As the name suggests, the help command gives the player some sort of basic information about what to do. When there is a list of links, if you're familiar with the internet, you'll probably work out, oh, I see, there's a list of links and I click on the one that's the choice I want to make. Whereas when you have a text box like this, without any menus or anything, it can be confusing. Even if you work out what you want to do within the game, like pick up the book or something, well, that might not be the way that the game has been programmed to understand the idea that the player wants to pick up an item. So you may not be able to work out how to express that. Especially because this type of game is no longer very common. These games used to be quite common, and often people would know the conventions of them, but that's no longer the case. So if you've been following this series, you may have noticed there's a slight change in this last line before the text box. It used to just say, "What do you do?" ? It now says, "What do you do?" and then in brackets, enter help for a list of commands. And if we enter help, we do indeed get a list of commands, and we also get a little bit of description of what some of those commands do. So this list is taken from the $C array, and later in the video I'll explain how to do that, although it's quite simple. But the most important bit of this video is probably this, which is my sort of quick summary of how games like these work. So I think it's probably worth reading out this whole bit of text. So after the full list of commands, it says the most important commands are as follows: north, east, south, west, move in that direction; get or take, put an item into your backpack; drop, take an item out of your backpack; use, make use of an item. And then it says if you enter get, take, drop, or use, you should also enter the name of the item, for example, use umbrella. Inventory gives you a list of the items currently in your backpack. And that's not all of the commands, but you can, at least as the game currently is, you can get through the game only using those commands. And in fact, you can get through most games of this type only using those commands. And then after we get this whole sort of text dump, then it just takes us back to the input area where it says, you're in the southwest corner of the mansion. You can see whatever you can see, and the exits, and a window to enter your command as usual. So there isn't much sort of programming here. But let's have a look at what programming there is. Of course, we have, oops, I've got the wrong screen, sorry. We have the C array, which is all of the possible commands. That's the only array we're going to be using in this particular video. And if the player enters help and therefore ends up in the page named help, we have a for loop. So we have, and this is a very a very common way of having a loop, which is for $z equals 1, semicolon, space, $z is under or equal to $c dot length minus 1, semicolon, space, and then $z plus plus. That's a very common format for when you want to go through every item of a given array. In this particular case, we want to go through every item in the array C, which is all the possible commands. And then on the next line, it just says print $c square bracket $z end square bracket. So print the zth item in the C array plus quote less than br greater than quote. And that less than br greater than is just a command that means line break. So it's the equivalent of entering return, and that means that all the commands are in a column, in a list, rather than sort of being one after the other, which might be a bit hard to read. And then we have the text that I've already read to you. Each line ending with one of those, or two of those rather, line break commands, so that they are 2 line breaks means that it'll go to the next line, then go to the next line, which means there'll be a blank line in between each one, which again makes it a bit easier to read. And then having given all this information, we go to include input, which just means go back to the input screen and get the player to enter a new command. Now, you might expect a help command to give you help, as well as giving you help in the sense of sort of how do I play the game. You might also expect it to give you help in the sense of give me a hint about completing the puzzle that I'm currently in. I mean, I'm sort of in two minds about whether it should have that sort of help, but at the moment the game is very, very simple. I mean, it's not really a game at all. And so I don't think it's possible at this current stage to have an example of giving hints. I may do that later in the series if we have a more elaborate puzzle, a more elaborate setup. But that's how that's an example of how to do a help file in the sense of helping the player who isn't familiar with this genre of game and doesn't know what they're supposed to enter at all. The most important bit of it is probably this, as I say, this little bit about which ones are the most important commands and what they do. Feel free to copy that code if you wish, as with any other bit of code that I've shown in this channel. But I hope, in any case, that this was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.